Attention, this is your captain speaking. I'm Eva Moriali.
I'm Julie Moser. Prepare for takeoff.
And this is I Couldn't Help But Wander.
The show to get trivia, tips, tricks, and juicy tidbits from all around the world.
The show that asks, did you even go to New York if you didn't see any celebrity birds?
The show that asks, ooh, what's that?
It's a pigeon, Julia. That's right. Today we're talking about birding and the people who fly away just to see what's flying around. Please excuse our foul language in advance.
Oh my god, we have a lot of bird puns in this episode. I feel like we need to warn the viewers,
up.
the audience, the listeners.
Yeah. This episode's rated F for foul.
Eva, are you a birder? How do you feel about birding?
No, I mean I'm very open to birds. Open to birds. I'd never consider myself someone who's excitable about birds, but I feel that through this episode I will be galvanized to become a birder in my own backyard. But I know you're kind of like an amateur birder, and
yes, okay,
Kenny,
very amateur.
Kenny mentioned.
Yes, so my boyfriend Kenny he was a Boy Scout. I don't know if that makes you he was an Eagle Scout, I feel like.
Automatic birder.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's why he became interested in birds. But also his father is a huge birder. So he grew up birding. He has a nice pair of binoculars and all that. And I feel like I didn't really get into it until, so I went to Cornell, and the Cornell Lab of Ornithology is a big deal in the birding world. And I actually didn't even go visit it when I was in school there. We went, my friend got married in Rochester, New York, and then we did a little trip back to Cornell in Ithaca.
Cute.
And we went to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, it's highly recommend, if you're ever in the Finger Lakes region, whether or not you're a birder, I would highly recommend the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It's so wonderful. So basically it's a little visitor center, and then a little nature preserve with trails and stuff, and there are bird feeders all around, and there's ponds, and it's a perfect little birding habitat, and it's lovely, and you see so many birds, and they're so cool. And we saw little nests, I don't remember what kind of birds, but it was the little birds and the little nests and the little, the mama feeding the little baby. And it was so cool, and it really converted me. And now I am the person I will be walking the dog, and I'm oh, what, is that a hawk? We see peregrine falcons in our neighborhood.
Yes.
We see hawks. My favorite are the parrots of LA. I love them so much. Do you know about this?
Yes, I love this lore, because I think when you move to LA, you're are there really parrots flying around? And there are, and they're the descendants of escaped pet parrots, correct? But they thrive in this environment.
Yes. You know why they thrive in this environment? This is what I love. Because we also have enough non-native plants that are from the same places that the parrots are from.
Because, they brought, when LA was, quote, founded or being built, they brought so many, not even invasive, but things that don't belong here necessarily, that are subtropical. So that totally makes sense. Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. They probably eat the birds, or not the birds, the mice and stuff too.
No, parrots don't eat, but parrots are vegetarians.
Oh, okay. Erewhon adjacent birds. Look at that.
Yes.
Very health conscious.
I saw a hawk on my balcony recently.
Yes, I remember.
They do eat the. We'll talk more about that with Jarad, our bird expert, later. But they do eat the mice, and they also eat, I think. Well, no, maybe the peregrine falcons. I'm very amateur. I'm talking I know things. I don't know things.
No, we're learning. We're learning this episode. That's what's
I will
very
say,
exciting.
If you're interested in birding, or on the fence, or even just you're walking around and you're what's that? I highly recommend the Merlin Bird app. It's so cool.
It's Shazam for birds.
It's Shazam for birds. Mm-hmm. So you can go through, and you can either have it listen to a recording of a bird call if you hear it, and it will tell you what that bird is.
Incredible.
Or you can go through, you can upload a picture as well. They have added that feature. or you can like go like step by step and tell them like what size it was, where did you see it, what color was it, and it'll tell you what kind of bird it was. And you can also like download all of the like bird packs offline so that you can like if you're in nature, you're hiking somewhere, you can still and you don't have service, you can still identify the birds.
I'm downloading this for our upcoming camping trip. Yes, this is so exciting. Well, on that note.
We're going to talk more about birds.
Yes, we're just amateurs, but we're going to talk to the expert. We'll be right back. After the break, we'll be talking with travel writer and bird enthusiast Jarad Ranahan.
And we're back.
Today we're talking to Jarad Ranahan. Jarad is a travel writer with bylines in USA Today, Forbes, The Guardian, and MyPub, Photos Travel. He writes on a range of topics, including food, drink, outdoor adventures, and wildlife. He's especially passionate about birding, and he shares many of his birding adventures on TikTok.
Jarad, welcome.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Yay! We're so
Good.
happy to have you here today. We're very excited about this episode. Please excuse all of our bird puns in advance. There are many.
Oh no, I love them.
Okay, great.
We went a little cuckoo. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
How did you get into birding? Let's start there.
So I started at an early age. So I grew up in Massachusetts. My Nana is from Foxborough, and I lived with her when I was young with my parents. So we would always just sit on the back porch, and she had 2 feeders set up. So she showed me like blue jays, cardinals, black-capped chickadees, some typical birds. So I grew up liking birds a lot, and then, as with many other people during the pandemic, the total isolation, I kind of turned to the natural world, so I got really invested in all the wildlife in my backyard. I got actual binoculars and started to take note of what I was seeing, and then I started writing about it, and now it's a huge passion of mine.
How far out of the way have you gone, like on your like various travel journeys? How far out of the way have you gone to see a bird?
I've gone really far. One trip, I had a professional opportunity to go to Jakarta in Indonesia, and I decided that there's some incredible bird life in Indonesia, so I decided to stay an extra week in Indonesia and fly to North Sumatra, and there you can go and do orangutan tourism, but also on an orangutan tour, since the surrounding forests are so pristine, there's incredible birds too. So I kind of did like an orangutan bird watching combo. Yeah, there's some really vibrant species up there.
Are the orangutans, I'm like imagining like a Disney movie, are they friends with any birds? Are there like symbiotic relationships there, or do they lead separate lives?
Nothing that I saw. I didn't see any of them hanging out, but I mean, there was so much wildlife. I'm sure they interact all the time.
Oh, yes. On your TikTok, which I'm obsessed with.
Thank you.
I'm trying to avoid being that person that likes every single video. Every time you come up on my feed, I'm just like every third one. You talk about bird watching slang,
yeah.
SOB. Can you explain what some of the slang is? There's some really fun words and like kind of give us a vocab lesson.
There are a few that are great. SOB is one that I like a lot. So it stands for spouse of birder. So that's basically the person that puts up with you. You're on a vacation and your partner wants to sleep in, but you decide to wake them up at 5 a.m. to go look for birds out in the wild and just go on far-flung destinations around the area because, they just put up with you because they love you. My boyfriend is a trooper. He is my favorite SOB on the planet.
Aww.
And then,
That's incredible.
he is great. There's some other fun terms. One that I like is little brown job or little brown bird. Because a lot of birds, a lot of the times, like a female bird will have kind of drab coloration. So if you see a bird and someone's like, oh, what is it? You just go, I don't know, LBB. Like, I can't figure it out.
Okay, I have seen the film Big Year with Jack Black and Steve Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what is a big year? Would you ever do one?
So a big year is basically you take, the entire year. If you have a job or you're studying or anything, you just basically take a gap year. And you travel around, if you live in North America, you'll travel around, I think it's, at this point, only the entire country. Like, you can't go to Canada or Mexico.
Okay.
But you try to record as many species as you possibly can. I think it can be eyesight or hearing the calls. I read an amazing book called Kingbird Highway, which is basically somebody chronicling their big year that they did when they were about 19.
Aww.
But the rules have changed over the years. But yeah, big year is basically... people record hundreds and hundreds of species. They travel across the entire country, and they'll find some pretty, far-flung destinations just to try to get one species that's only there, that's endemic to that tiny region. Personally, I think a big year is a massive commitment. I don't think I would ever do it, but I love the idea of it, and I love that people are passionate enough to do it for themselves.
Where would you go if you were going to do it? What are your dream birding destinations?
I would love to more thoroughly explore Latin America. I spent a lot of time in Colombia, and there's some amazing destinations there. You can go to the Caribbean to Santa Marta. There's this little town called Minca that has really great birds. I've been down to Inírida in the south, which is like the Amazon area. There's incredible bird life there. Then out west in like Cali, like that kind of area. There's great birds there. So I would do a lot of Colombia. And then Panama's great too. Costa Rica. I would love to do like a very Latin, like Central and Northern South America focused birding expedition. That's always an incredible place to go.
Speaking of that, can you get into some birding travel tips? Like, what's the easiest way to do it if you're like just hanging out on your balcony on vacation or in a national park? What would you tell our listeners?
I mean, definitely, this is a no-brainer, but I definitely say seek out like the visitor center of a park, because a lot of the times they have feeders set up.
Is that cheating though? Does it count if there's a feeder?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, I'd definitely be in contact with the rangers, because a lot of the times they're birders themselves, and they will be so happy to tell you exactly where to go if they have like, maybe there's been an owl hanging out in one area, and they can kind of give you the scoop on where exactly is the best place in the park.
Do you find, like piggybacking off of that a lot of people who are involved in whether it's national park sites or tourism to a specific region are like surprise birders or get really passionate and excited about it too if someone brings up birding?
I definitely think so. Yeah, it's actually kind of shocking how many people I will just casually mention it to, and they're like, usually they say my parents are obsessed with it, but sometimes they themselves are obsessed with it. It's just funny that bird watching does not often come up in casual conversation, but when it does and someone else is a birder, you're like, we are immediately best friends, and you can just talk about it for hours.
Oh my god, I love that. I was gonna say, when my boyfriend's father is like a huge birder, and they came for Christmas and we did the whale watching trip. We did not see any whales, but he was really excited to see all of the seabirds, and it was so funny because we didn't say anything to the boat driver. We were just like on the boat, but like my boyfriend's dad was just like with the binoculars, and after like 10 minutes where he was like getting really excited about various things and we hadn't even gone that far from shore, the boat driver was like, I figured it out, you're a birder.
Yeah, that is another great tip, that whale watches, you may not think about them, but they are incredible for seabird watching. I just did one in Cape May down in New Jersey. That's one of the best bird watching spots in the country because it's right on the Atlantic Flyway, so you get a lot of rare migratory species. But yeah, same thing. We did a whale watch, not a single whale in sight, but we were all so happy because there were so many birds.
That is so funny because that was like the site of school field trips for me, and I would never know. Like, we were always like, there's sharks, be careful! And Cape May is known for being a gorgeous beach, though, so it was always fun to visit. But yeah, would never have, we would have just been like, make sure you don't, give away your potato chips and attract the gulls. So it's also really exciting to rethink destinations in the frame of birding too. Like, I'd love to explore some place I've been and like fixate or put my focus more on the birds rather than, like Julia was mentioning, the whales or any other type of like land animal. So that's a really cool way to think of travel.
Since I've become like a low-key amateur birder, I have gotten we take our dog on walks, and there's like peregrine falcons in our neighborhood and like the parrots of LA. Which are fun to see, and we have a hummingbird feeder. The hummingbirds are assholes. They're so mean. Yes,
they really are. Hummingbirds are so mean to each other.
They're so
mean to each other.
Yeah, they're territorial. So like one will be drinking from the feeder, and then another one will come up, and the first one will like chase it away, and they're really loud. For how small they are loud.
Do they like hang out with each other, or they're kind of solitary?
They really don't like each other. Like, you can see on YouTube, there's videos, they will literally like kill each other.
Oh my god.
Yeah, hummingbirds, like, they have brawls around feeders.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's incredible. I'm learning so much. This is fantastic. Well, speaking of learning, Jarad, are you ready to play some trivia?
I am scared, but I'm ready.
Amazing.
We've got some fun questions.
So I was recently visited by a Cooper's hawk on my balcony, which was very exciting. I was just like sitting on my couch, and it was like so close, and it was so big, and it left talon marks on my balcony. Anyway, and like I said, we also have peregrine falcons in my neighborhood, and you might think that hawks and peregrine falcons are pretty closely, or falcons in general, are pretty closely related. But what other birds are falcons most closely related to? This is multiple choice. A.
Oh, I already know. You don't need to give me the multiple choice.
What? You want to get? You know?
Is the answer parrots?
Yes.
Yes!
That is a great fun fact. I tell people that all the time when I talk about like
Really?
convergent evolution.
Yeah, my
my
boyfriend said
God.
that parrots are vacation falcons.
That's amazing.
Because they only eat like tropical fruits, right? Whereas falcons are the hunters. Yeah.
Yeah, and another cool thing. I think I'm saying this correctly. If you watch a hawk eat, it holds it with its talons and puts its face down to like bite, like tear off chunks. But if you see a
my
falcon
God.
eat, it'll bring its foot up to its mouth to tear off a chunk, like how a parrot will do that with a nut.
Oh, that's so cool.
Don't like totally quote me on that, but I swear that's a thing. I read that somewhere once.
I believe you. You're the resident expert this episode. Question number 2. Some might call this whodunit theory loony, but many believe the real culprit of the notorious 2001 staircase murder was not husband Michael Peterson, but this American bird.
Wow. I am not familiar with this at all. Is this multiple choice?
It's not multiple choice, but there's a hint within the question. Here, I'll do it again. Okay.
Is it a loon? Is that-
No. Wait. wait.
Who?
Some might.
Who
This
done it?
who done it? This who.
An owl of some sort?
Yes, a barred owl. Yes.
I'm not familiar with this true crime scenario.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with it. My husband and I are like, we fall asleep to Dateline every night. Like, we're insane. Probably why I brought up the dead bird family member about to die theory. Old wives' tale.
Eva, you talked about that before we hit record.
Oh my God, sorry.
You have to-
Anyway,
you
no.
have to explain. No, now you have to say it.
Oh God. Okay. Well, my grandmother is very how do I say it without making her sound criminally insane? She's obsessed with like old wives' tales and like, you know, various idioms and stuff like that, and filled my mom's head with that as a poor child. So then my mom is like obsessed with superstitious stuff, and it randomly comes out. And I have this memory of when we were 12, we were driving down the Parkway in Jersey, and a bird hit our windshield, and my mom was very frazzled and freaked out and pulled over, and she was like, Grammy always says that like when a bird hits your windshield, someone's gonna die in the family. And I was like, what are you talking about? And yeah, so that's a past trauma. This is a great episode.
I'm not really well versed in like old wives' tales or like folk tales, that kind of thing. But I would imagine that
I
there are
know.
a lot of like bird related ones.
I know a good one for New England.
Oh, what is it?
Oh, what is it? What is
So-
it? What is it?
So there's an old thing for like people in New England. I don't know if it's Italian American or like everyone in New England, but a lot of people will say that like a cardinal represents your deceased relatives.
Yes,
So people
that-
always joke that like their mom will be like, Joey, there's a cardinal on the porch. It's your grandfather.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes.
We got a Massachusetts accent. I think this is an East Coast thing in general because, you know, the Jersey superstition is the same thing too. Maybe it's just because there's a lot of them, but it's so hilarious that like, I mean, everybody's dead relatives are flying around everywhere because there's a lot of cardinals on the East Coast. You see cardinals constantly.
Yeah, I feel like the first time I saw one, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that they were like actually like red. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and they're like red.
Yeah.
They're so beautiful. But yeah, speaking of more death, back to our question. The barred owl. There's a theory that was kind of brought up by Michael Peterson's
This is the
friend,
staircase?
neighbor.
Yeah.
This is the staircase murders. So after he was already kind of on trial, his friend like kind of revisited the case because he's a lawyer and was like, why are they ignoring this specific evidence? Because on his wife's body was owl feathers and pine needles discovered in her hair, and she had these kind of lacerations that they kind of chalked up to potentially being from an owl. And it's not that crazy of a theory, because what happened was she was walking from their backyard into the front yard. The front door was open. There was a trail of blood going towards the staircase. And it's believed by some that the bird, because it was mating season, which is late December, in that region, it's North Carolina, Durham area, the murder took place. And so it's believed she got attacked by the owl because owls are territorial during that time of year, tried to crawl up the stairs, hit her head, and fell back down the stairs backwards. So
Jared, in your professional birding opinion.
Well, I will say the Audubon Society did an article and kind of corroborated with a couple birding experts that the theory is possible, but that wouldn't have been what killed her, because owl attacks aren't common, but they have happened before in mass, and you can end up with those kinds of lacerations in your head. When they go to attack, they attack your head. So, but would also love to hear your theories and explanation.
I personally have never been attacked by an owl, but I mean, I could see it. They're always kind of, like leering. They seem like they want to like get into some trouble.
Yeah, yes. I don't trust them. They can turn their heads all the way around. Yeah, I don't like it. I saw The Labyrinth as a child.
Oh, traumatizing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on to the next question?
Let's do it.
Right. A study that came out this summer found that the trade of what foul substance is negatively affecting bird populations in Central America.
A foul substance?
Yes.
Yes. It's a pun.
Is it like oil, microplastics, some kind of...
Think Brat Summer. Are you bumping that?
I most certainly am. It's apples.
No, it's cocaine. The answer is cocaine.
Is it actually?
Yes,
it's actually
cocaine.
There's
a study.
I was literally gonna say Coke, but then I was like, no.
Yeah.
You would have thought right.
I went to Cornell for my undergrad, and I therefore follow the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And they posted about this study. It came out in June that says that one of the consequences of cocaine trafficking is the avian population in Central America, because they're when drug traffickers, I'm quoting now the Amanda Rodewald, who is the senior director of the Center for Avian Population Studies at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. She says, okay, when drug traffickers are pushed into remote forested areas, they clear the land to create landing strips, roads, and cattle pastures. Those activities and the counter-drug strategies that contribute to them can deforest landscapes and threaten species. So,
okay, yeah.
Think about that, party animals.
Your coke habit is killing the birds. Wow.
Someone
Boom.
tell Charlie XCX.
No Brat Summer for the birds. That's actually terrible news when you think about that. Also, all coke has like fentanyl in it now. Just, you know what? We don't condone drug use on this show, but if you DM me, I have thoughts. Let's move on to our final question.
Okay. In a cuckoo move by billionaire Elon Musk, social media platform Twitter was renamed to the very lame X in 2022, losing its iconic bluebird logo. What was the bird's name? It's multiple choice. Don't worry. A, Tom. B, Jasper. C, Larry. Or D, Mark.
These are all very, like, human names.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's not Tom, because that sounds like MySpace. So I'm going to say... You said Larry is an option?
Yes.
I like that name. I'll just go with that one, because I have no clue.
You're correct.
Oh my god, you're right!
Yes.
Wow. Oh my god, that's amazing.
Apparently, it was named after Larry Bird. I don't know who that is, Eva.
Okay.
Is that an athlete?
You don't know who Larry Bird is? Oh my god. Well, didn't he play for the Boston Celtics for forever,
Yeah.
Jared? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're Boston.
Ironically enough. And he played in the 70s and 80s. But the creator was like, oh, it's cute. Let's just name him Larry Bird. There are 3 creators. And he was based on a series of like circles. They overlapped circles over and over and kind of got the bird logo from that. But this other piece of trivia I hate, when someone over the platform asked what tweets should be referred to now as, Elon said X's,
Gross.
which, boo, I hate that.
Dislike that.
No creativity.
No creativity.
Wait,
I
but
hate that,
speaking
man.
of birding on Twitter, do you guys follow Manhattan Bird Alert on Twitter?
No,
No.
but I've actually heard of that. Yeah.
Okay, this is how I like low-key got into birding, was because when I was living in New York and I was working for BuzzFeed. Do you remember the hot duck?
Yes, the beautiful duck in Central Park.
It was
yes,
a
the hot
Mandarin
duck.
duck that landed in Central
those are
Park.
beautiful.
Yes, and so I started following Manhattan Bird Alert, which like posts about like cool birds in Manhattan. And now there's like all of these celebrity birds in Manhattan that they post about. So there was the hot duck. And then there was What was Flocko? Was Flocko an owl? Who died? It was very sad.
Flocko.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
pretty
no.
recently. Anyway, there's Flocko.
hot bird. It was an owl.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I think they're gonna like taxidermy Flocko and like put him in the Natural
Oh
History Museum or something.
my god.
I don't know. But and then now there's a wild turkey that's roaming the streets of New York.
Oh, nice.
So I highly recommend following Manhattan Bird Alert if you're interested.
Yeah, we had recently up here in Massachusetts, we had a flamingo on Cape Cod, which was a big deal.
How did that even happen?
So that is a concept called, you call it a vagrant species. So when it's way outside of its range, it basically got, it got confused somehow. Maybe there was a storm and it got knocked off of course, but it just ended up way far away from where it's supposed to be, typically alone, but it can be like a little flock. But yeah, like if you see a flamingo on Cape Cod, definitely a vagrant species, not something that's normal.
What did they do with it?
I think it just kind of hung out, and I'm assuming it was like, I cannot eat anything here. I'm going to take off and go look for food. But yeah, people just came and kind of like took photos of it, and then it was like, okay, bye.
Oh my god.
And I don't know where it is now. I mean, unfortunately, like, I don't think there's a lot of krill in New England, so I would assume it's starved. I haven't heard anything about it.
Jesus. We're hoping for the best.
Lobster, right? Can
That's true. We should have set it up, and some chowder.
Yes. All right, I think we have reached the end of our trivia. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about a Eva, do you want to say your pun?
Oh god. A awkward quandary. And we're back. So every episode, Jared, we like to talk about a quandary, travel-related question, am I the asshole, supposed situation that we can kind of help our listeners with. And this week, obviously, it is birding related and kind of animal related in general. But we came upon this "Am I the asshole?" on Reddit of this person that is stealing all of. Julie, elaborate on
Okay,
this.
I'm just gonna do a dramatic reading because I feel like it's important. Okay, here we go. So this person posted, I moved into a neighborhood after living in an apartment for 8 years. Back when I lived with my parents, I loved having bird feeders. So when I got my house, I set up 12 bird feeders and planted wildflowers that attracted hummingbirds and butterflies. And he lists all 12 of the different kinds. And they sound, if I were a bird, delicious. It includes like a nut feeder, a small glass mealworm feeder, a bark butter feeder. I don't even know what bark butter is, but there's 12 of them. Okay. This, of course, slowly attracted birds to my yard. I wake up every morning to a lot of bird song, and there are always birds flying about and chirping. I honestly expected my neighbors to complain about the noise, if anything. Instead, other people in the neighborhood have knocked on my door complaining about me being, quote, a cuss word and stealing the birds. I thought it was one crazy lady until a whole group of older women came and banged on my door complaining, saying you need to take them down and stop stealing everyone's birds. So, okay, is this person the asshole?
That is such a fascinating question. I don't think they're an asshole. I definitely don't think they're an asshole because it's a big passion of theirs.
Yeah, I feel like you're entitled to have as many bird feeders in your house as you want, right?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, these old ladies need to step up their game.
yes,
That is very true, yeah.
That's what's going on. Like, get some better treats for the birds, clearly.
If he wanted to extend an olive branch, they could try to figure out, like, a public space that they could put all these feeders in. But, I mean, it is him who's buying all the feed and everything and keeping up with the maintenance, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's an asshole. It's
Yeah, I like
very
to...
unique. I love this question.
I like to imagine, like, an arms race in the neighborhood of, like, everybody, like, upping their game until, like, the neighborhood, until it becomes, like, the birds, like the Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
Birds just taking over. Okay, well, I think we've sort of decided not the asshole, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the asshole. No.
We also wanted to bring up, could you tell us, I know there's, like, a feud in the birding community between birders and photographers.
So there can be. Yeah, like bird watchers and photographers. I think one of the issues is that a lot of the times photographers want to get that perfect shot, and there is a concept that's called flushing, which is when you kind of, if the bird is thick in the underbrush, you kind of approach it and you try to like scare it so it'll go high on a branch or like out into the open. And the concept with flushing is that you can get a clear picture of that bird, but then other people would argue, well, when you're flushing, you're forcing it to waste precious calories that it might need to get through the winter because you're scaring it all around. So, yeah, there's a big debate around flushing, and a lot of photographers will use flushing in order to get a good shot of the bird.
Oh, that's so messed up.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's I personally would never engage in any flushing activity on birds just because I'm much more of like an observer. Like, I like to take pictures of them, but if they're not in a good spot, then I'm just kind of like, it's a natural world. Like, I'm not gonna bother them.
Yeah, I feel like that's, if you're doing like nature tourism, then like you want to like observe in their natural habitat and like not disturb them. You're in their space, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we were talking about with this episode in general of like being in nature and ethical. I mean, there's all sorts of larger conversations happening about ethical tourism in general, but when it comes to animals, what feels ethical and right versus disturbing them to kind of suit your needs. Yeah. Do you find that they're like in tourism in general, there's, even when people are setting up press trips and things like that, that things feel appropriate for the environment, or are there things that, you know, communities could be doing better to like suit the environment with all animals in general? I
think a lot of the time professionally, everyone that I've worked with, they try to find organizations that keep animal welfare as a top priority. And I just think, like, also personally, when I did that orangutan tour in Indonesia, I booked with a company I booked with because, like, one of the first things it said on their website is, like, we do not feed the orangutans to get them to come to us, because you will find companies that do that.
Oh my
but
God.
We're very much, like, fully hands-off. We will never try to, you know, call to one to get it to come to us. Yeah, I think a lot of the top organizations definitely have that in place, to kind of like hands off with the animals.
My boyfriend lived in New Orleans for a year, and so when I visited him one time, we did a swamp tour.
I love those.
It was so fun. I really loved it. I had a great time. But one of the things I thought was interesting, they were tossing out, it wasn't like unethical, well, I don't know to the extent to which it's unethical, but they were tossing out marshmallows to get the alligators to come.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought, apparently the marshmallows look like eggs to them. But they also, I think initially that maybe happened, but apparently now they just know that they're marshmallows and they just like them. And so when they see the boats coming, they know that people are going to toss out marshmallows. And so all of the alligators just like come to the boats.
I've also seen that marshmallow trick when I did a swamp tour. Really, the issue with that is when some animals, when they begin to associate humans with food, if you're just on a boat tour that's not throwing marshmallows, they might be like, where is my food? So they might try to climb into the boat to investigate.
Oh, hell no.
And that's when things can get really crazy.
No, I don't want that at all.
My God. But that makes sense for like any tour. Like, we've gotten so many pitches lately about people doing the gorilla tours, and I just can't handle it. Those people are our strongest soldiers. Like, they're very brave people, but like I can't even imagine like hiking into gorilla territory and just kind of like chilling out and watching them. Like, I would truly have a panic attack and die and just be
they're
left
so big? You
in
have
the
to say more
jungle for
about
them.
that.
They're so big. They're overwhelming. I mean, they're very powerful. I don't know if you watched Oprah back in the day. These are chimpanzees, but chimpanzees are also dangerous. But that woman who had a pet chimp and it ripped her friend's face off.
Oh my God.
And the friend had to get a face transplant, and then it killed the owner. But I just, some animals are just so strong and beautiful, and I'm like, I don't need to be in their space. I'm gonna let them do their thing.
Yeah.
I would never go on a gorilla trip. Bird sanctuary, totally my speed. Sounds amazing. Gorillas, absolutely not. I'm good. Enjoy the jungle.
Well, on that note, I feel like we have come to the end. Jarad, thank you so much for joining us. Where can the people find you and your work?
Social media-wise, you can find me at Jarad Ranahan, Jared Ranahan. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and I also have a muck rack, which is my portfolio of all of my written work.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking about
Thank
birds.
you so much, Jared. We had so much fun.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I loved it.
Yay! Well, that brings us to the end of another I Couldn't Help But Wander. Thank you to Jared for joining us.
And you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts or on the Circa app for iOS. That is CERCA.
That's where you can get Circa's audio guides to your favorite destinations like Barcelona, Paris, Rome, etc. All written and voiced by locals. Just search Circa in the Apple App Store.
And you can find me at Julia Moser with 4 R's on Twitter, Instagram, and 5 R's on TikTok.
And you can follow my online and IRL adventures at Eva Pants on Instagram.
Thanks for listening and happy wandering.
I don't know why I'm waving. People can't see me.